You're listening to the StudioPTBO podcast, where we talk all things marketing to help you build and grow your business online. Welcome to the latest episode.
Hello and good day, and thanks for tuning into another episode of the StudioPTBO podcast. We are back, and we're back at it again with another guest. And I am super excited about this guest today because I threw out inside of our boardroom mastermind. I actually talked about this a little while ago. I think actually I recorded a video yesterday about being connected with some of the best 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs on the planet, doing really great things, helping people, really making a massive impact in the world. And as you know, like really my goal more than anything is to really help the business community and the entrepreneur community experience both passion and exuberant energy in both their personal and professional lives. So I have a really awesome guest, Heather Roberts. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to chat about e-commerce today.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Today is exciting because I every single time I chat with clients, like we're on the lead gen side, and a lot of stuff that we do for clients is lead gen facing, like generating leads online. And the e-commerce space has been a space that has always interested me, but it was something that I never really went into. But before we dive into kind of like what you're doing from an e-commerce perspective, and I have some questions. I'm just genuinely curious today. Why don't you give us like a backstory? Like give us let's back all the way up. Give us a backstory and kind of how you got to where you are today in regards to e-commerce account management and kind of what you're doing in the coaching space.
Yeah. So, well, funny story, true full disclosure, I was a stay-at-home parent for almost 14 years and came to a crossroads where my husband and he was in corporate. We moved all over, it was beginning to suck. And so we decided to leave corporate and moved here to North Carolina, where I'm from, and had no idea what we were going to do. But he was not going to be in corporate anymore. So by chance, we kind of really fell into this. It was back in 2007 where brands were just starting to want to sell online, and Walmart was a real biggie. So that's how we started, and have evolved through the years. The thing I think that really has been a game changer is I've been doing a lot of like product development, consulting, and that kind of stuff as part of the management side of the company. And I decided I wanted to do something on my own. Like I was sick and tired of telling everybody to use what colors and this and that. So I started my own decorative throw pillow company.
Okay,
and
cool.
That was like a huge game changer because we got to see what it was like to be on the other side. And I sold it with an awesome exit and said, hey, I want to teach other people how to do this. So that's kind of where I am on this side of it, is helping product-based businesses understand the e-commerce space and how to, market in it, price in it, position yourself.
So like what are three mistakes that you think like suppliers are currently making when it comes to doing e-commerce well? Like because you mentioned from the e-commerce space, like you're helping people like exit, how are they failing, or what are the mistakes that they're making that's making the exit not possible?
Really, it's just the basics. And that's what's so frustrating. The first thing is they don't understand how to really merchandise their products. They don't know how to understand how to put that best foot forward, because I mean, that little box, that's your little salesperson. And if you're not doing that right, you actually aren't going to get the sales that you want that allow you to continue to grow. So that's the first. The second is they really don't understand how the pricing works. And a lot of times they're like losing money in an effort. Like they think, oh, okay, if I lower my price, then I'm just going to get more sales. But, it's not in relation to what your costs are or your profitability. And so, a lot of times they are losing money on their top sellers. And the third is really, I think it's an inventory management problem. Not being able to properly forecast what you need to have in stock, because in e-commerce, if you go out of stock, well, really in anything, I mean, you are just literally losing money every single day that those shelves are empty.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, like
So,
it's so interesting because like I chat with so many of my e-commerce friends that run like Facebook ad agencies and marketing agencies, and the out of stock thing is something that they consistently talk about. Where it's like, hey, we're running really great ads and we're converting and we're getting 10x ROAS on these ads, but it's like the client, their stocks are empty. Like, how do they do that? Like, how do they keep the actual stores running on a consistent basis so they don't run out of stock?
yeah. So, well, really, 2022 was, or 2021 and 2022 have been a massive strain on the supply chain. So
Yeah.
there have been some really extra problems here, pandemic related, with different parts of the world being shut down at different times. So that's been one of the problems. The other problem is they think that, a lot of people did see some writing on the wall. Some of the companies that have managed to grow during this saw some writing on the wall, and they basically over ordered,
Okay.
anticipating things being, places being closed, especially if you were getting product from overseas. So the minute you could start placing orders, they ordered twice as much as they thought they would need, so that, they could last a longer time in case things got shut down again. So that's been one of the challenges. I think also, you need to pay attention to what your daily and weekly and monthly turns are. People don't do that. They don't stop and think and say, okay, well, I've sold 10, I like easy math, 10 of these items in the last, month. And if I want to grow 50%, I need to have 15 on hand. Like they don't do that. And it seems like it's a silly thing, but it's a really big thing. So it's just lack of knowledge.
Okay. And how would it, like an e-commerce brand or business starting out, somebody that maybe they even have like a bricks and mortar business? Because I know this happens a lot, especially in local markets where it's like
Yeah.
you have this bricks and mortar business, you start a Shopify account, and you're like, you just expect traffic to all of a sudden land on the website and then convert, and then it's just not always the case.
No.
Like, how can bricks and mortar businesses go online, which like we're seeing more people do that, but then they run into supply chain issues, or they just run into issues where it's like nothing's selling on the website and I'm still getting majority of my business through my bricks and mortar walk-in
Yeah.
conversations.
So one of the things is they need to look at what's really, what in their store really has sold well. And then, by virtue, that's going to be your top sellers online. The
Interesting.
only reason I would counter that is if it's a really low price point item, and if it costs more to ship it, then don't put that on there. But other than that, there is a very strong correlation between top sellers in store and out of store. So you can plan accordingly, kind of use that as your gist. The other thing is, and I mean, this from lead gen perspectives, just because you put it up there, people don't know about it. And so what they don't do is properly cultivate their community through social media, through their current, their current customer list. They don't use, micro influencers, or anything like that. They just kind of like, well, I have a store now,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't work that way. So,
Yeah.
and then you do have to run ads. I mean, you have to run the Google ads. You have to kind of play the game.
How important is Amazon like in this entire like conversation? Because they're massive, and like you look at their stock is just like freaking exploded over the last year. And like I have some friends that are doing like Amazon, like running Amazon ads, and they're doing, they run an Amazon ad agency. Like, how important is Amazon right now for like an e-commerce business?
Depends on who you are.
Okay.
And like I have a love-hate relationship with Amazon. Love to shop from it, hate to sell from it. So Amazon has been a kind of that giant in the industry, and it's not meant for every seller. So it used to be that, Amazon would have they had a vendor program where they would buy a bunch of things in stock, and then they would plummet the prices on it, and it would really screw up the whole market. Fortunately, they have moved away from that into a completely seller platform. So prices and things like that are all seller driven, and very much buy box oriented. You got to win the buy box. If you are certain categories, it makes 100% sense for you to sell on Amazon. And, you can do really, really well. But if you are maybe smaller, more niche, maybe a little more curated and artistic and artisanal, that's not the place for you. Like, don't do it. You're not going to get the traffic. You end up spending money on ads and it won't work.
Makes sense.
So I think if you're more middle of the road and you are razor sharp, competitively priced, then you're going to have a good success. But, again, you can do that. Like, furniture is not a good thing to purchase on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's hard to ship, all of that. So
I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah, you don't do that. Man, you should have told me. I could have saved you a bunch of that.
I've learned that the hard way. It's like, do not buy any furniture on Amazon. It is a brutal experience. I don't like putting furniture together either. So even going to IKEA is not fun for me. So
No.
when it comes to e-commerce and everything that's kind of happening in the e-commerce space, like how would you recommend a specific retailer online to know what ad platform to be on? Like, how?
Yeah, great question. A lot of it is driven by what you sell. So, if I'm going to use like something in the home, garden hoses. So if you're a garden hose supplier and, then there's some really good places for you to go. You want to be on Wayfair. You want to be on Overstock. You obviously want to do Home Depot and Lowe's. You probably Walmart and, maybe Amazon, but that would be something that I would think about later. So it really has to do with what you sell and what your price point is. If you are a high price point, category, then you don't want to go on, Walmart, because they're everyday low price. They're very much price sensitive and their customer doesn't spend a lot. So you want to, work with the, I call it, it's really alignment. It's, you want to work with the internet retailers that you are properly aligned with through expectations, what do they expect from a lead time, an inventory, upload time, a pricing, all of that, and value, so you have to look at what you're selling, what are your options, and then figure out if you're in alignment with it.
What's really interesting about, and maybe it's probably part of the reason why, like, I never got our agency never really got into the e-commerce space was shipping. And I want to talk a little bit about shipping for a second, because like, it's one of those things. And one of my friends, Cameron Harrell, posted about this the other day about the difference between, actually he posted today about the tagline, FedEx's tagline of like what it needs to arrive tomorrow. And UPS has more of a granular, like, kind of vision statement. Like, a bunch of people sat in an office and said, this should be our vision statement, where it's like FedEx's was really more around the offer of when it needs to arrive by tomorrow. Now with shipping, like, how do you battle the shipping? Like, sometimes like I get things in a day or two, and sometimes like I get things in 5 to 7 days, and it does affect my experience. Like, what can e-commerce businesses do in order to ensure that they have a good shipping experience?
Yeah, so Amazon is really Amazon is the one who's really driven this. Especially if you live in a major metropolitan area, you place an order on Amazon and heck, it'll be delivered to you that afternoon.
And that's impressive.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's like unreal. So, and also most of the world doesn't live like that. But the idea of 2-day Prime and it should be in my house, that's the new normal. And if you are, it comes down to a couple of things. If you are on the West Coast, there is no way on God's green earth you're going to get something to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2 days. It just doesn't happen. So really what you need to do is be centrally located and be able to be in the place that can hit, 90% of the United States within 2 days. So there's a really good reason that FedEx is located in Memphis, Tennessee. There's a reason that there are, UPS has a big thing in Louisville, Kentucky. You can hit 85 to 90% of the United States in 2 days from those two locations.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense. And how do e-com companies that aren't advertising on those platforms like Amazon kind of create a good experience? Because shipping can like literally make or break the experience, where it's like, when you have a bricks and mortar business, you walk into the bricks and mortar business, like you have the conversation, you can kind of manage it a little bit more. It's like, oh, I have a product, and they deal with and they deal with a whole another array of things, like not having the product when you go there. But how do you deal with experience? Like, what should e-commerce agencies or e-commerce businesses be doing in order to make sure that the experience for the client is really great?
So a couple of things they should do. For number one, if you're selling to an established internet retailer, maybe not from your own site, I'm going to give two different answers. Then you have expected lead times that you're supposed to follow according to your contracts that you signed. So ideally, they would like you to ship the order same day or next day, but the industry standard right now is you have to ship within about 48 hours. So that means if an order came in today, I ideally would get it out today or 24 hours later, so like by Friday. The problem is that they don't count weekends. Don't count, but as the consumer, they count to us. Totally. So, the way you counteract that is you try and get your order out on the day that you get it. So if you're selling from your own site, that's the answer. You need to ship that order from the day, on the day that you get it. A lot of times this is really hard if you're, smaller and you don't have, if you're a one-man band doing all of it, that can be challenging, but that's a make or break. Then the second thing is, the bigger guys, unless you're a marketplace like Amazon, but the other big guys have you ship on their account. So like you get to use their FedEx and their UPS number. And actually you get that kind of is the leverage that helps because of the sheer volume that these companies give to like FedEx and UPS. If you're in a central location, then, you probably are going to hit that 2 to 3 day window. But it all starts at the beginning from the day that you get the order. So the sooner you get it out the door, the more likely it's there to get to the customer. The other thing that really helps the customer experience is you always, when you order something online, you always get that little tracking number. So, but the companies that kind of take it one step further and they're like, hey, so, awesome. Here's your order confirmation. We're going to send you, an email and blah, 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 blah time, with your tracking. So you want to make sure if you do that, you want to make sure that the tracking number is actually live, meaning that it's not sitting on a truck someplace and isn't moving anywhere. Because that can be so frustrating. So, as much as you can communicate with the customer, that just helps the experience overall.
What about payment? Like, I want to talk about payment processors because that's another thing that I think a lot about buying things, but then I'm like, I don't want to put in my credit card information. I don't want to get up and go, grab my credit card. And why don't more e-commerce agencies use like Apple Pay and like directly like link Apple Pay where it's like I already have it linked to my wallet and I can just buy the thing then and there. Like, why is that not a standard practice, or is it a standard practice? Because I don't see it on. Don't see it on a lot of websites.
Truthfully, it's PayPal. PayPal is a thing that that usually is linked or a payment option for internet retailers. The big ones, they want to run it, directly through them. They get their rates on their fees and blah, blah, blah. So, but PayPal seems to have the corner on the market right now of, that, oh, I just have to click this and PayPal knows all my information and, it's seamless. Apple just hasn't gotten into that game at all. Like, I don't think I've seen one. Yeah,
which is so surprising because like the amount of times I don't really use PayPal to pay for anything anymore. So I'm like, I always forget my password to PayPal and I always have to reset it. But I'm like I'm always going through and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna buy that, see an ad, and I click the ad. I'm like, you know what? I'm not, my wallet's over there. I'm not going to get my wallet.
I'm not going to get up.
I'm not going to get up. And then I don't buy it. But when it comes to e-commerce agencies spending money on ads, what should they be considering? Should they be hiring an agency? Should they be trying to do it in-house? When, how much in ad spend should they be considering before outsourcing to an agency, or do you even recommend? I don't know the right answer because we don't run e-commerce ads.
So that actually question has two parts to it. There's two questions. So there's two ways that you run ads in e-commerce. One is you do like a sponsored product ad within the retailer that you're working with. So like I'm sure you've seen it on Amazon, and it'll show like sponsored, or anybody, like they all do this.
Yep.
So Amazon has a very clear formulaic pattern that you do. And it's basically like 20%. If you want to have $100,000 in sales, you would spend about anywhere between 10 to 20% more up front, and then less on the back end as you have gained traction over time. Other places, it's not quite so clear cut because they use other things in their basic formula for promotions and so forth. So it's better to get in the game and do it because it totally helps, but you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of money. You can start with like $15 a day, which isn't very much. As far as like Facebook ads and Google ads and YouTube ads and all of that, I hire somebody to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. That's not my specialty. That's not my niche. So I am a big believer in, get somebody to do that for you because it's complicated.
Yeah, no, it's super complicated. And like, even us as an advertising agency, like we didn't go into e-commerce because I'm like, there were so many, like, and don't get me wrong, in the lead gen side, there's like, there's checks and balances that are tough as well. But with e-commerce, like, it's just so interesting because like I've had so many conversations about ad platforms, especially with Facebook and iOS 14 and affecting targeting abilities in the e-commerce space. Like it's just been, it just feels like they're getting hit and hit and hit and hit.
Yep.
And even on Google is the same thing with tracking. How do you like, I guess like when iOS 14 came around, and how did you work with your clients that were maybe spending a lot of money in Facebook ads? Did you reallocate money? Are they running TikTok ads now, or like where did you kind of take them?
No, totally reallocated the money to more targeted Google ads, TikTok, and in some cases YouTube, but it totally was dependent on, what the category is.
What about when it comes to creative? Like how, like what types of creative should they be using? Or is it just kind of like a mixture of everything, try everything and test it and spend money? Like what types of creative are you seeing work right now in the online ad space for like e-com agencies or e-com businesses?
Yeah. So storytelling, you want to invoke that emotion because that's the thing that's going to get the person to click. The other thing is that, remember, like 90% of the buyers online are actually female. So, kind of gear your ads that way. I mean, not if you're selling a wrench, no. But even then, like if it's men's, I don't know, some kind of men's beard oil or something, chances are that's going to be a woman who's buying it for a man. So just, remember that. It actually, a true trade secret that the internet retailers, they all talk about their woman, their person it's female. And, they have a very, very detailed, profile of who she is. And so that's what we always say is that, remember, you need to gear this towards that, slant it towards your female audience. And, why do females purchase? Well, because they have an emotion that's been evoked and it's made them, kind of look and think and yearn and, oh, that's how I could use this. Oh, it'd make me look so much prettier. Oh, see, her skin looks like this now, so you have to, it's that storytelling to evoke those emotions.
So much valuable information for e-commerce agencies, e-commerce companies. If there was like any last advice that you would give, kind of wrapping up here, to an e-com business that is really looking to go to the next level here in 2022, what advice would you give them?
I would actually tell them to like make sure you walk before you run, and make sure you are, like, don't try and do too much at once. And that's the thing that I actually see most people make the biggest mistake. Like, pick your one big thing that you want to focus on and grow. Like if there's a certain category or there's, a certain site you want to, or you want to specifically drive traffic through social or to your website or whatever it is, pick that and focus on that. Because you can't do it, you can't do everything. Just like you can't be all things to all people, you can't do everything all at once. So pick one thing.
100%. I totally echo that. And we tell that to our real estate agents and our the clients that we coach, pick the next right thing, go deep with it and really get expert knowledge around the thing. So, that's really great advice. If there's an e-commerce business that is looking to go to the next level and they want to reach out to you, where is the best place that they can reach you?
They can go to our website, which is rsgsales.com, or find me on LinkedIn or socials or YouTube.
YouTube. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Heather, honestly, bottom of my heart, thank you so much for joining us today. It was absolutely amazing. I really feel like, the e-com businesses that kind of follow this podcast are going to get a ton of value from everything you kind of said. And I thank you once again for tuning into the StudioPTBO podcast. We are back at it. I'm going hard with podcasts to really help provide massive value back to the business community with marketing and mindset knowledge, help you build, grow, and scale your business in the online space. So Heather, once again, thank you. And thank you for tuning into the StudioPTBO podcast.